indeed important to explain analysis of dimension. What is question for knowledge? Dimension of a physical quantity can be said as the power to which the fundamental units must be raised to obtain 1 unit of that quantity. The dimension of mass, length, time, temperature, electric current, luminous intensity, and amount of substance are accordingly denoted by MLT, KICD, and MOL respectively. Example density. Density is equal to mass by volume. N by L cube is equal to ML minus Q. Example 2 B squared is equal to U squared plus 2AS. LT minus 1 whole squared is equal to LT minus 1 whole squared plus LT minus 2 L1 L squared P minus C squared is equal to L squared P minus C squared plus 2 L squared P minus 2. Importance of dimension equation is below. Want to derive the relation between diverse physical quantities. To change from one system of units to another unit of physical quantity can be determined. To find the dimension of constant in a given relation, one sum of unit can be converted into another sum of units.
Hello everyone, I am Aaron Chester from grade 10. Now I would like to give some question and answer of the chapter scientific study. Number 1 from multiple choice question. In an experiment, a researcher needs to study the interrelationship between the rate of photosynthesis and amount of sunlight. Which statement is true or false? The correct answer is amount of sunlight is independent variable and the rate of photosynthesis is dependent variable. Next, B number. Which of the following steps require 5 sense organs to detect in scientific learning? The answer is drawing a conclusion. C number. What is the last very significant step in a scientific method that allows other researchers to test the hypothesis? The answer is again drawing a conclusion. D number. What is called the rate of doing work? The correct answer is power. E number. Which one of the following is a derived unit? The answer is hertz. And which of the dimension is correct for power? ml is L to the power 2, T to the power minus 2. Now I would like to discuss about difference between A number, independent variable and dependent variable. Independent variable. It can be manipulated by the researcher. Dependent variable. It can be measured by the researcher. Again, independent variable. It can be changed, and dependent variable it is changing in response. Independent variable. For example, temperature, wearing sports shoes, etc. And dependent variable, plant growth, speed, walking, etc. Number B. Fundamental unit and derived unit. Fundamental unit. This is the unit of a fundamental quantity. Derived unit. This is the unit of derived quantity. Fundamental unit. There are only 7 fundamental units. Derived unit. It is formed in many types using 7 fundamental units. C number. Fundamental quantity and derived quantity. Fundamental quantity. This quantity is independent. Derived quantity. Derived quantity. This quantity depends on fundamental quantity. Fundamental quantity, there are 7 fundamental quantity, and derived quantity, there are 13 derived quantity. Now I like to discuss answer.
There are many derived quantity, not only 13, there are many.
Answer. Now I would like to discuss about answer the following question in short. A number, what is scientific learning? The process of testing and analyzing in science is called scientific learning. Number B, what are control variables? Answer, the variable that researcher tries to hold constant throughout the experiment is control variable. Number 3, define variable. Any quantity that variable varies during the span of an experiment is variable, is control variable, is variable. Sorry. Number sport shoes, independent variable. Wearing sport shoes, dependent variable. Speed walking. E number. What is unit? Answer, the reference standard with which we carry out the measurement of any physical quantity of same kind is unit. F number, define fundamental and derived unit. Fundamental unit. The unit of fundamental quantity which is independent of each other is called fundamental unit, and derived unit. The unit of derived quantity which depend on fundamental unit is called derived unit. G number, how many dependent variables do you want in an experiment? Answer, I want more than 2 dependent variables in an experiment. S number, define unit and write its type. Answer, the reference standard with which we carry out the measurement of any physical quantity of same kind is called unit. Its types are fundamental unit and derived unit. Yes.
Namaskar and good evening to you all. It's me Prishita Shrestha, and today I am here to discuss about chapter 1 of long question answer, give reasons and diagram the question. Long question answer, A number. What are variables in research? Explain with example. The variables in research are independent variable, the variable which can be manipulated by researchers is known as independent variable. Dependent variable, the variable which measured by a researcher is known as dependent variable. And control variable, the variable that researchers try to hold constant is known as control variable. For example, research investigating the relation HIP between distance velocity of an object, independent variable, time, dependent variable, distance, and control variable, velocity. Clarify different types of B number. Clarify different types of variables given an example of experiment. The different type of variables are independent variable. The variable which is a factor or condition that you can change in an experiment is independent variable. For example, temperature and time, etc. Dependent variable. The variable which factor or condition that you measure or observe in an experiment is called dependent variable. For example, distance, plant growth, etc. Control variable. The variable that a researcher try to hold constant throughout the experiments is called control variable. C number. What is the dimension of a physical quantity? Given example. The power to which the fundamental unit must be raised to obtain 1 unit of that quantity is called dimension of a physical quantity. Example 1. Find the dimension of density. Example 2. Find the dimension of V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. D number. What is the unit of work? Explain whether the unit of work is a fundamental or derived unit. The unit of work is joule. J. The unit of work is The unit of work is derived unit because the unit of work depend on fundamental unit kg, meter, and second. E number. Define fundamental unit with an example. Why is the unit of force called a derived unit? The unit which are independent of each other is called fundamental unit. For example, meter, kilogram, etc. The unit of force is called a derived unit because its unit depend on fundamental unit kg and second. What is derived unit? Give its 2 examples. The unit which depend on fundamental unit is derived unit. For example, ohm, volt, etc. G number. Define physical quantity. A quantity which can be measured in is called physical quantity unit. The reference standard with which we carry